So, what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed the beginning of Lent, and we shared the story of Jesus being tempted in the desert. We talked a little bit about the reality of such temptations. Although they seem fantastical and strange in Luke's gospel, in reality, they're very familiar temptations. The temptation to do something just because you can, turn stones into bread. The temptation to do the right thing the wrong way, as if the ends will always justify the means. Bow before me and I'll put you in charge of everything. The devil tempts Jesus. And then that almost schoolyard one. Throw yourself off and God will catch you. Well, if you like God so much, then why don't you just marry him? That sense of, if you and God are so close, then just prove it. Childhood taunting, foolish bullying, and Jesus resists it all. I think the invitation is for us to recognize the very real, the very human temptations and to address them ourselves and recognize God's presence as we overcome temptation. But that's only a small part of what we did today. In fact, today we also talked about preparing ourselves for worship, for the Eucharist, for coming to the table. I took off my robes and my collar and my stole and wondered aloud about why I wear such things. In fact, you'll see I'm not wearing a collar or anything right now. This is what I'm wearing. This is just me. So we talked about just being ourselves as we come to the table. We talked about the uniforms we wear and why, the symbols, what they indicate, the equality, the leadership, the nature of leadership. And then we also set the table for communion. And as we set the table, Anne talked about why we cover the table for special events. We talked about the bread and the wine, the juice. We talked about the plates that we often put out on tables. We talked about all the elements as we dressed the table. And then we invited people to add to that table by bringing themselves in uniform or without uniform. We talked about all of the sacred stories of our tradition that come together at the table. And we reminded everybody that their stories too are sacred and that we are all invited to bring our stories to the table, to bring our gifts to the table, and that we can expect to feel the presence of God. We can expect to be inspired. And with that in mind, we came to the table. And I would hasten to say that many of us, most of us, maybe all of us, were so inspired. And we did feel the presence of God. And in the sharing of the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, we also became part of that presence of God. We aim today for a true communion, where we felt no distance between one another, no distance between us and God. We are all one in Jesus. And that seemed to be a good way to begin our Lenten journey. Our time of examining our uniforms, our artifices, our time to take them away and wonder who we really are, and then discover the divine love that embraces us for who we truly are. So that's what we did. Oh, and we shared some fantastic music. That's what happened at Jubilee today. That's what you missed. Hopefully we won't miss you next week, because we're having a baptism, and we'd love to see you next week. But until we see you, God bless.